I'm Kristen. For 3 years, I worked my heart out, sleepless nights, side hustles, saving every penny just to reach one dream, a Tesla Model S Plaid. The day I drove it out of the showroom, that electric hum rang like a victory song. I could already picture myself pulling into my parents' driveway in Raleigh, watching their faces freeze at the sight of the sleek beast I had earned. But that dream crashed head-on, literally. My cousin, let's call him Trouble, saw my car as nothing more than a toy. One night, he snatched the keys, thinking he'd take it for a little joyride. By the time I saw it again, my Tesla was slumped against a pole, its frame twisted like it was screaming betrayal. Trouble just crossed his arms, smirked, and dropped a line that felt like a gut punch. My parents will take my side, Kristen. Good luck. My blood boiled. 3 years of sacrifice. My pride, my moment, all shattered in one reckless stunt. But was he right? Would family loyalty bury my truth? The fight is only beginning. I'm not backing down, because what's at stake isn't just a car. It's trust, pride, and proving that what's mine will stay mine. Stick around, because the road ahead has more twists than a mountain pass. When the line gets crossed, will you stay silent or stand up? Drop your comment below and hit like plus share to spread this message. Brandon always got away with everything. At 25, he still lounged in his parents' Raleigh basement, his days a blur of video games and half-finished job applications. His mom, Diane, and dad, Steven, covered his rent, his phone bill, even his streaming subscriptions. Every time he messed up, crashing their old Honda, forgetting to pay parking tickets, they'd swoop in excuses ready. He's just finding his way, Diane would sigh, brushing off his latest disaster. Steven would nod, slipping him cash for groceries that mysteriously turned into new sneakers. I'd bite my tongue, knowing my cousin's charm was their blind spot. Last weekend, Brandon showed up at my place, eyes glinting as he ogled my Tesla parked out front. "Let me take it for a spin, Chris," he said, leaning against the hood like it was his. I laughed, sharp and final. Not a chance. This car's my blood, sweat, and tears. His grin faltered, but he shrugged, muttering something about just asking. I should have known better. Brandon didn't ask, he took. That night, I was deep in a Netflix binge when my phone buzzed. I ignored it, but it kept ringing, insistent. Finally, I picked up. "Ms. Kristen. This is your insurance agent. Your vehicle's been in an accident." My stomach dropped. I grabbed my keys. Wait, where were they? My spare set was gone from the kitchen hook. Brandon. I sped to the scene, a quiet street 10 minutes away. Blue and red lights flashed, painting my mangled Tesla in harsh strokes. The front bumper was crushed. The hood bent like a broken wing. A cop waved me over, clipboard in hand. "You the owner?" I nodded, barely hearing his questions over the roar in my head. Then I saw him, Brandon, leaning against a lamppost, smirking like he'd just won a bet. No scratches, no remorse, just that infuriating half grin. "What the hell, Brandon?" I snapped, storming toward him. The cop stepped between us, but I didn't care. "You stole my car." He chuckled, hands in his pockets. "Borrowed, Chris. Relax. It's just a car. Just a car." My voice shook. "I worked 3 years for this. You had no right?" He rolled his eyes, unfazed. "Cry about it. Diane and Steven will smooth it over. They always do." The cop scribbled notes, glancing between us. I wanted to scream, to shake that smug look off his face, but I held back. Yelling wouldn't fix my car or the betrayal. I turned to the officer. He took it without permission. That's theft. Brandon's smirk didn't waver. "Prove it," he said, low and taunting. My phone buzzed again, another call from the insurance agent. "We'll need your statement, Ms. Kristen, and the driver's." I glared at Brandon, who just shrugged, like this was all a game. The cop handed me a form, his face neutral. "Sort it out with your insurer. And maybe keep your keys somewhere safer." I clenched the paper, my knuckles white. Brandon sauntered off, whistling, as if he hadn't just shattered my biggest achievement. Diane and Steven would probably back him like always. But this wasn't a parking ticket or a busted fender. This was my dream, my proof I could do it on my own. And he thought he could walk away. I drove home in a borrowed sedan, the silence heavy. My Tesla was towed, my savings on the line, and Brandon's laugh still echoed in my ears. But I wasn't done. If he thought family ties would bury this, he was dead wrong. I'd fight for my car, my pride, and the truth. The next morning, Mom's call woke me up. "Kristen, come to the house," Diane said, her voice tight. "We need to talk about Brandon." I gripped the phone, already dreading the lecture. An hour later, I pulled into their Raleigh driveway, the borrowed sedan, a bitter reminder of my totaled Tesla. Mom and Dad were waiting in the living room, their faces a mix of concern and expectation. Brandon wasn't there, probably still sleeping off his stunt. "Sit down, honey." Mom started patting the couch. "We know you're upset, but family forgives family." I froze, my jaw tightening. Dad nodded, his arms crossed. "Brandon made a mistake. He's sorry, Chris. Let it go." "Sorry," I snapped. "He stole my car, crashed it, and laughed in my face. That's not a mistake, it's a choice." Mom sighed, her eyes soft but unyielding. "He's young, he's learning. You're stronger than this, Kristen. Be the bigger person." I wanted to scream. Be the bigger person. I'd heard that line before. Back in college, I worked double shifts at a diner to cover my tuition, scraping by on instant noodles. Meanwhile, Brandon racked up $5,000 in credit card debt, new phone, concert tickets, designer clothes. Diane and Stephen paid it off without blinking, saying he's just figuring things out. I never got a dime for my loans. I clawed my way through a loan while they coddled him. Now they expected me to shrug off my ruined dream. "Mom, Dad, this isn't about forgiveness," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "It's about accountability. He broke the law. He needs to face it." Dad leaned forward, his tone firm. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be. We'll help with the repairs. Just drop it for the family's sake." "Help?" I stood, pacing. "I don't want your money. I want him to own up to what he did." Mom's face hardened. "You're being selfish, Kristen. He's your cousin." "Selfish?" The word stung, but it also lit a fire. I grabbed my keys and left, their disappointed stares burning into my back. I wasn't bending, not this time. At work, I slumped into my office chair, the weight of it all crushing me. Megan, my coworker and closest friend, poked her head in. "You look like you need coffee? Or a lawyer?" she teased, sliding into the seat across my desk. I spilled everything: Brandon's theft, the crash, Mom and Dad's pressure. Megan listened, her usual smirk replaced with a frown. "They're enabling him," she said, tapping her pen. "You worked your ass off for that car. He doesn't get to walk away." "Exactly," I said, leaning forward. "But they think I'm the bad guy for standing my ground." Megan shook her head. "You're not. Look, my brother pulled crap like this once, borrowed my laptop, lost it, and my parents let it slide. I made him pay me back every cent. You set boundaries, or they'll keep walking over you." Her words hit hard. Boundaries. I'd never set them with Brandon, not really. I always let his charm or Mom's pleas soften me. But this was different. My Tesla wasn't just a car, it was proof I could build something on my own. Brandon didn't just dent metal. He dented my pride. "What's your next move?" Megan asked, her eyes sharp. I took a deep breath. "I'm filing a police report. Theft, reckless driving, whatever sticks. And I'm telling the insurance company everything. No more protecting him." Megan grinned. "That's my girl." "Need me to proofread the statement?" I laughed, the first real laugh in days. "Maybe. But I'm not stopping there. If Mom and Dad want to shield him, they'll have to explain it to a cop." She nodded, standing. "You've got this. Don't let them guilt you into backing down." Alone again, I stared at my laptop, the insurance claim form open. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Filing this report would change things, maybe forever. Mom and Dad might not forgive me. Brandon might double down. But I wasn't the one who broke trust. I'd spent years proving myself, and I wouldn't let anyone, not even family, erase that. I started typing, each word a step toward reclaiming what was mine. I drove to the insurance office downtown. The Raleigh building loomed ahead, all glass and steel, a stark contrast to the knot in my stomach. I clutched my phone, the screen glowing with the text I'd sent Brandon days ago. "No way you're driving my car." Not happening. That message was my lifeline now. Inside, the receptionist pointed me to Paul Bennett's office, a corner room with too many files and a coffee mug that read, "Claims happen." Paul, a middle-aged man with wire-rimmed glasses, looked up from his desk. "Ms. Kristen, take a seat." I slid into the chair, my folder of evidence in hand. "I'm here about my Tesla. It was stolen and crashed." Paul raised an eyebrow, adjusting his glasses. "Stolen. The report says a family member was driving." Without permission, I said, my voice firm. "My cousin Brandon. I told him he couldn't borrow it. I have proof." I handed him my phone, the text to Brandon, time-stamped and clear. Paul scrolled, his expression neutral but attentive. "This helps," he said. Jotting notes. "You're filing for unauthorized use." "Exactly." I leaned forward. He took my keys, crashed my car, and walked away like it was nothing. "I need this on record." Paul nodded, pulling out a form. "Unauthorized use is serious. If approved, it could shift liability to the driver. But family claims get messy." "You sure about this?" I didn't hesitate. "I'm sure." "He needs to be held accountable." He typed, his fingers quick on the keyboard. "I'll need your statement, the police report, and this text." "Any witnesses?" I shook my head. "Just me and him at the scene." The cop saw his attitude, though. Paul made another note, his face unreadable. "We'll review it. You'll hear back in a week. Maybe sooner." I left his office, my heart pounding but steady. This wasn't just about the car anymore, it was about drawing a line. Back at work, I found Megan at her desk, her eyes lighting up when I walked in. "So, how'd it go with the insurance guy?" I dropped into my chair, exhaling. "Filed the claim. Showed them the text. The agent Paul says it looks solid, but family drama complicates things." Megan snorted, tossing her pen onto a stack of papers. "Complicates. Brandon stole your car, Chris. That's not drama, that's a crime. He needs to learn he can't just take what he wants." I nodded, her words fueling my resolve. He's never faced consequences. Mom and Dad always bailed him out. Not this time. "Good," Megan said, leaning back. "You know what my mom used to say, if you don't teach people how to treat you, they'll decide for you." Brandon's been deciding for too long. Her words hit deep. I'd let Brandon's antics slide before, small things like borrowing my stuff without asking or dodging chores at family gatherings. But this was different. My Tesla was years of sacrifice, late nights, and skipped vacations. It was mine, and he'd treated it like a toy. "What if Mom and Dad tried to guilt me again?" I asked, my voice quieter. Megan didn't flinch. "Let them. You're not the one who broke trust. They've been enabling him forever. If they're mad, that's their problem, not yours." I smiled, grateful for her fire. "You're right. I'm done playing nice. The claim's filed, and I'm ready for whatever comes next." She grinned, giving me a mock salute. "That's the spirit. You need me to back you up, I'm there. Brandon's not skating out of this one." I spent the rest of the day drafting my police report, every word deliberate. The text to Brandon, the missing keys, his smirk at the scene, I laid it all out. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Chris, we need to talk. This is tearing us apart." I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to call, to explain, to make her see, but I didn't. Not yet. They'd had years to teach Brandon right from wrong. Now it was my turn to show him actions have consequences. I hit send on the police report, my pulse steady. That Friday, Mom planned a family dinner. I pulled into their Raleigh driveway, my borrowed sedan rattling in a way my Tesla never did. Inside, the dining room smelled of roast chicken, but the air was thick with tension. Mom fussed over the table, setting plates with forced cheer. Dad sat at the head, his jaw tight. Brandon slouched across from me, avoiding my eyes, his usual smirk replaced by a fidgety unease. I kept my folder of insurance papers tucked under my arm, ready for the fight I knew was coming. Kristen, we're family. Mom began passing the mashed potatoes. This car business is tearing us apart. Can't you let it go? I set my fork down, my pulse quickening. Let it go. He stole my car. Mom, crashed it. I'm not the one tearing anything apart. Dad cleared his throat, his voice low. He didn't mean to hurt you, Chris. We'll cover the damage. Just drop the claim. I shook my head, incredulous. You think this is about money? It's about him taking what's mine and thinking he can walk away. Brandon shifted his fingers, tapping the table. I said I was sorry. Okay, why do you have to make it a big deal? Sorry doesn't fix my car. I shot back. Or the fact you thought you could just take it. Mom's eyes narrowed. You're being stubborn. Remember when we bought Brandon that laptop for college? You didn't complain then. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Didn't complain. I saved for months to buy a used laptop with a cracked screen while you handed him a brand new one. I didn't say anything because I was taught to earn my way. He wasn't. Dad's face reddened. That's not fair. We helped where we could. Helped him, I corrected. I worked 2 jobs to afford that laptop. You never even asked if I needed help. The room went quiet, the clink of silverware gone. Brandon stared at his plate, his knuckles white. Mom reached for his hand, but I wasn't done. I pulled the insurance report from my folder and slid it across the table. This is the claim I filed. Unauthorized use. The police report's next. This isn't going away. Brandon's head snapped up, his eyes wide. You're serious. You're trying to get me in trouble over a stupid car. It's not just a car, I said, my voice steady. It's 3 years of my life. You don't get to decide what it means to me. Mom grabbed the report, her hands trembling. Kristen, this could ruin him. Think about his future. His future. I stood my chair, scraping the floor. What about mine? I worked for everything I have. He doesn't get a free pass because you feel sorry for him. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. You're blowing this out of proportion. We'll fix the car, and that's the end of it. No, it's not. I held his gaze. The insurance company has my text proving I told him no. The police have my statement. If you keep defending him, you're defending a thief. Brandon shoved his chair back, his face pale. You're really doing this? You'd screw me over like that? I crossed my arms. You screwed yourself when you took my keys. Mom's voice broke. Kristen, please. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family. I said, my words cutting through her plea. You've been cleaning up his messes for years. It stops now. Dad opened his mouth, then closed it, his shoulders slumping. Mom clutched the report, tears welling, but she didn't argue. Brandon stormed out the back door, slamming behind him. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by Mom's quiet sob. I gathered my folder, my resolve unshaken. I love you both. But I'm not backing down. He needs to learn. Dad stared at the table, his voice barely a whisper. You're making this hard, Chris. I didn't make it hard, I said. He did. I left them sitting there, the untouched dinner cold. Driving away, I felt the weight of their disappointment, but it didn't sway me. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. 3 days later, Brandon pounded on my door. I opened it, and there he was, eyes wild, hair a mess. Nothing like the smug cousin who'd laughed off my wrecked Tesla. Chris, you gotta help me, he blurted, stepping inside without asking. I crossed my arms, blocking his path. Help you? After everything you pulled. He paced my living room, hands tugging at his shirt. The insurance claim. The police report. You're ruining my life. Just drop it, please. His voice cracked, desperate, but I felt no pity. Why should I? I asked, my tone cold. You stole my car, crashed it, and thought you'd walk away. Now you're begging. Brandon stopped, his face twisting. I messed up, okay, but you didn't have to go nuclear. You know what I did. I posted about you on Twitter. Said you're a selfish jerk blowing this out of proportion. People are talking, Chris. Your coworkers saw it. My stomach lurched. I grabbed my phone, opened Twitter, and there it was, a thread from Brandon's account painting me as the villain. Kristen's out to destroy her own family over a car, one post read. Another called me petty and vindictive. My hands shook as I scrolled. I recognized names in the replies, colleagues, acquaintances, even a client I'd pitched last month. My reputation built over years of hard work was being trashed in 280-character chunks. You did this, I said, my voice low, dangerous. You're trying to ruin me because you couldn't face your own mess. Brandon shrugged, defensive. I was mad. You're dragging me through the mud. I thought it'd make you back off. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Back off? You don't get it, do you? I'm not dropping the claim. You don't get to smear me and expect a free pass. His eyes darted, panic setting in. Chris, come on. Mom and Dad said you'd listen if I apologized. I'm sorry. All right? Just call it off. No. I stepped closer, my voice steady. You don't get to guilt me into fixing your mistakes. You crossed a line and now you're facing the consequences. His phone buzzed and he flinched, pulling it out. His face paled as he read the screen. No way, he muttered, his voice barely a whisper. He turned the phone toward me, almost pleading. It was an email from a client, one of his freelance graphic design gigs. Due to recent concerns about your professionalism, we're terminating our contract, it read. We cannot associate with individuals involved in public disputes. I stared at the email, then back at him. That's on you, I said. You posted that garbage. You tanked your own career. Brandon sank onto my couch, head in his hands. This is your fault, he mumbled, but the fight was gone from his voice. You pushed me into this. No, Brandon, you pushed yourself. I stood over him, unyielding. You stole my car. You crashed it. You tried to turn my colleagues against me, and now you're losing clients because you couldn't own up to it. He looked up, eyes glassy. What am I supposed to do now? I'm screwed. Figure it out, I said. Like I did when I worked 3 jobs to buy that car. Like I did when Mom and Dad bailed you out but left me to fend for myself. You're not a kid anymore. Act like it. He stood, his shoulders slumped, and shuffled toward the door. You're heartless, he said, but it sounded more like a plea than an insult. Then why are you here begging? I shot back. He didn't answer, just left the door clicking shut behind him. I sank into a chair, my phone still open to his Twitter thread. The replies stung, people I worked with, people I respected, questioning my character. But I wasn't the one who'd lied or stolen. I opened my laptop and started drafting a response, not to argue, but to set the record straight. My truth wasn't up for debate. Weeks later, Brandon's life unraveled. The insurance company's final notice landed like a sledgehammer, $30,000 in damages, his name on the bill. No more dodging, no more excuses. His freelance hustle, already battered by one client's cancellation, took another hit. A major design contract, his biggest yet, slipped away when the client emailed, "We've reconsidered due to your recent conduct." Brandon's social media bravado, once his calling card, had turned toxic, costing him work he couldn't afford to lose. Mom called me, her voice strained. He's in over his head, Chris. We can't help him this time. The house payment's eating us up, and Dad's hours got cut. I leaned against my kitchen counter, staring at my silent phone. He dug his own hole, Mom. He needs to climb out. But he's family, she pressed, almost pleading. Can't you talk to the insurance people? Make this go away? No, I said, my voice firm. He made his choices. I'm not cleaning up his mess. She sighed, defeated. You've changed, Kristen. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I just stopped letting him walk over me. I ended the call, my heart heavy but steady. Dad's voicemails piled up, each one shorter, sadder. Call us back, Chris, he said in the last one. I didn't. I muted their texts, blocked their numbers, and felt a rush of clarity. For years, I'd tiptoed around Brandon's chaos, swallowing my anger to keep Mom and Dad happy. No more. Cutting them off wasn't cold, it was survival. My apartment felt lighter, like I'd shed a shadow I'd carried too long. At work, I overheard whispers about Brandon's latest Twitter meltdown, a string of bitter posts blaming everyone but himself. My colleagues, once swayed by his lies, now saw through him. A coworker slipped me a message from a shared client. "We trust you, Kristen. Keep up the good work." My reputation, hard-earned, stood firm. I'd fought for it, and it held. Megan found me in the break room, her grin sharp. "Brandon's out here sinking, huh?" Another client bailed on him. I nodded, sipping my tea. "He's got 30 grand to figure out now. No one's bailing him out." "About time," she said, leaning back. "You did the right thing, Chris. He can't keep playing the victim." "I know," I said, "but it's not about him anymore. It's about me choosing what I stand for." She raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Look at you, all grown up and ruthless." I laughed, shaking my head. "Not ruthless, just done." That night, I checked my bank account. The insurance payout had cleared enough to start shopping for a new car, something practical, but mine. I closed my eyes, remembering the grind that got me my Tesla, the overtime, the skipped nights out, the endless budgeting. Brandon had seen it as a toy to borrow, a status to flaunt. He never understood what it meant to earn something. Now, with his debts piling up and his clients gone, he was learning the hard way. I didn't wish him pain, but I didn't owe him salvation either. His selfishness had built a cage, and he was locked in it. I'd spent years proving I could stand on my own, and I wasn't going back. Every choice he made, stealing my keys, crashing my car, slandering me online, had a price. He was paying it now, and I was free. I opened my laptop, browsing car listings. A new chapter was waiting. Looking back, I realized something crucial. Responsibility isn't just about paying bills or meeting deadlines, it's about owning your choices. I spent years building my life piece by piece, only to watch someone try to take it apart. That taught me a hard truth. Your hard work, your dreams, they're yours to protect. No one else gets to claim them, not even family. I learned to set boundaries, to say no without guilt. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Every sacrifice I made, every late night, every missed moment was a brick in the foundation of my independence. Letting someone chip away at that out of pity or pressure would have betrayed everything I stood for. To anyone listening, hear this: guard what you've earned. Your time, your effort, your heart. They're not free for the taking. People will try to bend your will to make their problems yours. Don't let them. Stand firm, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. You're not selfish for protecting what's yours, you're strong. I'm moving forward now, not looking back. My story isn't about what I lost, but what I gained: clarity, strength, and the courage to choose myself.